Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Grim Dawn. We are playing with the Ashes of Malmouth expansion. There's a Necromancer with an army of minions, and today we're gonna play the Hidden Path content. It was added a while back as a bit of bonus content. This is in the lower crossing, this is Devil's Crossing. You just walk out of town, follow the road until you hit a dead end, then you go to the right, cross the swamp, and then here, blow up the rocks with dynamite and then prepare for some level appropriate monsters. These are not the very low level monsters that you have killed on the way here if you are doing this with a higher level character. Instead, these are things that will be able to kill you and do quite some damage with that. But that is part of the fun, part of why you're doing this. This is a bit of a challenge content that, well, you can actually do this after finishing the story, but in our case, once we defeat the Logorian, of course, the next thing we want to do is push forward. So we're doing this a little bit of content slightly before, so the transition between the old and the new, or the old and the new story content is gonna be a little less awkward. And a little less like, come on man, let's hurry up, let's get to the Logorian. So I hope that by doing it now, we can achieve those goals. So there's gonna be 3 fights. The first one is gonna be in this part of the secret content of the Hidden Path. 3 guardians. After that, in the East Marsh, there is going to be a final. There's actually a boss in there as well, so it's going to be a final area with a boss fight. First one is the Guardian of Dreeg, 6 levels above us, and well, of course, being Dreeg based, it's there's gonna be poison, there's gonna be some armor sundering. Okay. Quite a lot of damage coming my way, but in the end, we do manage to survive.
Can't do that yet.
Well, hello there, Eye of the Guardian. Wonderful. So, I guess this is probably one of the more definitive answers to the question, does the, when you got totem heal when there are no enemies? It does not seem to do that. That's something to keep in mind. Got a corpse here, nothing useful comes from it. So, the first Guardian gave us the Runestone of Dreeg and a little bit of lore. The Runestone of Dreeg is the entrance key to the next part, which we will find in the Broken Hills. To be specific, in the bottom curve over there. So there's going to be a little bit of hiking in our future. This episode is going to be a mixture of hiking on the one hand and boss fights on the other. With the boss fights actually resolving rather quickly. Once we have dealt with the 3 guardians, we're going to go to the East Marsh, which is level 35 or so plus zone with lots of trolls. There's going to be a nice couple of boss fights in there. On our way to the Devotion Shrine, which also has a purple boss guarding it, which is part of the Wrath of the Beast quest for the Outcast faction. So in Fort Icon there is this lovely lady, the witch Anasteria, who's in the basement below. So you are gonna be asked by the fine folks of the Black Legion to kill her, even though, well, the Inquisitor doesn't want you to. So that's a choice you have to make. Do you side with the Black Legion or do you side with the witch? Well, my case, I'm a Necromancer, which is kind of close kin, so we're gonna go with them. It's not a black and white choice. You can actually be friends with both. You just have to put in a little bit more effort. But and this stone only opens if you have the runestone of Dreek in your possession. Let me think, was this Solael already? Might have already been Solael. Wonderful. And there we are. Guardian of Solael. Of course, does a lot of damage. A very large amount of damage to be specific. Wow, that's scary numbers of damage. So large amounts of area of effect damage definitely hits us in our weak spot here. So this is a pretty good foil. Just trying to keep the Wendigo totem up, and that helps. But of course, once the enemy dies, it doesn't really do all that much anymore for us. And there is no obvious treasure box in here. That is unfortunate. There's some enemies that are being teleported in via witchy means. But in the end it doesn't really help us. Hey. Oh, hello there. Goodbye there. So that was the second guardian. We also got another bit of lore and another runestone, and then the last one. And for that, let me just double check, was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. So this is the Aztecan Road. And the walk over here takes us back over the bridge. And then we need to pass underneath it at a later stage. It's a good opportunity to just kill some enemies along the way, which is always nice. So the fight with the Guardian of Solael especially showed us that Wendigo Totem is probably not going to be a full solution for keeping our minions alive, because, well, it does have a habit of dying in fights with lots of AoE along with all the other minions. So from that perspective it is more important to also have the Call of the Graves, because that is a direct life regen bonus. From that whole perspective, playing with a Necromancer Occultist which has access to the blood of Dreek is going to be a much better option for keeping both yourself and your minions alive, because it is a health regen, it is a damage bonus, it gives you some retaliation, it gives you some flat acid damage which applies in combat. So it does a lot of useful things. Okay, so the third path is when you get to this clearing. Over here, this stone is part of the hidden path. But yeah, as an occultist you probably have an easier time keeping your minions alive, unless maybe we really spike on Mock Dragon's Pact and Heart of the Wild, since it does boost the survivability of both you and your pets by quite a bit. But it is two skills, and the health regen you gain from it is going to be less substantial than from the Blood of Dreek or the Occultist. Okay, final fight. More Eldritch stuff. Whoa! I haven't even seen the boss yet and I'm already nearly dead. That's not a great start. Definitely not a great start. There we are. Guardian of Bismiel. Hello, Mr. Lightning Hound. Here, have yourself a Spectre. Put down our totem. Summon more skeletons since we weren't actually maxed yet. Just trying to put down some devouring swarms here every once in a while. Okay. That was the first health flask. That one was better. I think this was less area of effect, more single target damage. Damage output was substantial, but we did make it through. And now we have all 3 of the stones. So that is going to grant us access to the Temple of the 3. So that is next up. That's going to be towards the East Marsh. So for this one, we start in Burbage Village and we head out to the east, southeast towards Mud Row. The regular monsters here, they're just gonna melt. It's a good opportunity to remember to recast your skeletons as needed. It's a green item nonetheless, right? Okay, and we are maxed out on minions, and over here we have a bridge repair site. Need 1 dynamite to clear this. That's basically to prevent you from going here until you've at least set foot in Act 2 and got some dynamite from the cowboys. And then 10 scrap and 8,000 iron bits. Again, it's meant to be quite an investment. And the fun thing is I don't have the iron scrap on me because I have put it in my shared stash. And apparently, just like the dynamite that you need to have on you, you also need to have scrap on you in order to use it to repair things. So that is something to keep in mind. But the good thing is we've got plenty of scrap and might as well just turn this into a small pile of things.
So what brings you
actually, just now that we are here, just have a quick look at some of the things that dropped. I think the Platinum Band was really low level. Yeah, level 12, that's not relevant. Raider War Sword for Arcane Balance, that's not useful for us. Ether Fire Raider Fellblade. Ether Arcane Blast. But it's not the wrong damage type. If you're playing an Arcanist and you like the Fire and Ether combination, that's probably going to be up your jam. Maybe for some other classes that have the skills, but for us, not going to be all that useful. But we got the scrap that we came for. We also have enough money. So there is our portal, and that is going to grant us entrance. I do suspect that in probably the next patch, because in the previous patch or with the expansion, I'm not quite sure if it was the patch, the hotfix or the expansion, that you could put the purple materials in the stash. It's very likely that in either the next larger patch or a hotfix, that using those the scrap from your shared stash becomes a feature, just like you could use them for devotion shrines, for example. But for now, the road has been repaired and we can march onwards. So the East Marsh is it's a nice place. It's something different from the undead over here, and there's multiple ways to go about it. For this particular use case, because I've gone through multiple times already, I tend to stick to the bottom row, follow the outskirts, and then you end up somewhere in the top right at the boss fight, and then from there on you just follow the top, because at some point you need to be near the top end to go to the Temple of the Three. So that way you clear most of the map without having to backtrack really. So as you can see, the enemies here have scaled along with me. This is higher level content afterwards. I think if I'm doing this early, then it's gonna be nearby when I reach Homestead, around that area usually. So then you're done with the cowboys, done with all the collection of dynamite, then you're gonna be level 30, 35-ish. And then this is gonna be... you're gonna be level appropriate for this. Because otherwise you're just gonna be out-leveled. Because even the normal mobs, I think their lowest level is 30. But because a lot of the bosses here are at least 5 or so levels above you. Nope, staring down a troll king that is 37 when you're like level 30. It's not for the faint of heart. Good thing is, of course, we have an army of skeletons and all kinds of other things to throw at the problem here. Hello there, Muddy Note. More Lorbits, also Virulent Mole. That's... okay, bonus to vitality damage, 100%. That is substantial. I don't do acid or poison damage, so those are wasted. +2 to Ravenous Earth, +2 to Heartseeker. I can't quite place Heartseeker, it sounds like Nightblade, but Ravenous Earth, of course, is Necromancer. And that does use vitality and poison damage. So, and a little bit of ether as well. So, a Virulent Mole might be very nice if you're playing a Ravenous Earth build. Could be that Heartseeker was... no, for another class. Occultist has a little bit of acid as well. Might be it. Oh well. Doesn't really matter. But it is nice to just find some items that do support a build quite well. Okay, that actually worked out rather well. I used the Siphon Souls when I was surrounded by about 4 or so trolls, and I really did get quite some health back from it. And there we have Balagor, the Swamp King. He is 5 levels above me. Also, his overhead smash hurts quite a bit. Just don't get hit if you don't have to. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, of course. That every time I get hit, it's just to demonstrate what you probably should not be doing. And now we just continue our journey. If I remember correctly, the beastkin, they kind of count as beasts. So this is a good way to build up hatred with the beast faction. So you can get to nemesis spawns earlier, but it was the rovers. No, not the rovers. Homestead? Homestead likes it when you kill beasts. So clearing out the East Marsh multiple times probably should help you get quite some reputation with Homestead. So if you're looking to maximize that early, pick up some bonus quests or get access to some of the items that they offer at higher tiers, this is a nice place to farm to get exactly that. Hey! More skill points. Shaman. Let's see. 1, 2. And then we have some upgrades. And oak skin. Increased health regen, armor, pierce resist, retaliation damage. There's no flat retaliation damage on here. That is kind of interesting. So it only enhances retaliation, but something that doesn't already have retaliation is not going to benefit from it. Which I think is a little odd. I think the similarly for the Briars one actually. This is also a bonus to retaliation, and this is the only pet that I can think of that actually has built-in retaliation damage. So Oakskin and Briarthorn seems like a match made in heaven, but outside of that, other pets don't really benefit all that much from the upgrade. So go from trolls to grobles. In the end, it doesn't really matter, they're all beastkin. And as a caster, the shamans, things like that, I think they do have a decent chance of dropping effigies and other kind of crafting tools, or crafting folky offhand, whatever you want to call them. So from that perspective you might get some upgrades here if you're not using something that you are very happy with.
That skill's not ready.
Oh, note to self. Should keep using the Call of the Grave. Okay, and rather than getting drawn to the top, we should be heading east. It's very easy to just get drawn away from the path that you intended to follow, simply because there are always more enemies to kill, and well, if there's enemies you kind of got to kill them. That's the rules. And those bones over there signify this is a dangerous place. Kaliska, the Bone Hunter. This is the boss we have to defeat for the witch. If you go here before you side yourself with the faction, that's okay. If it was in the same playthrough, well, actually no, you get the Fang of the Bone Hunter. Just hang on to it and then you can give it to Anasteria and she'll be happy. All we need here is a chipped claw, so that's rather easy. We got some essence of Baronath, which is nice if you're an elemental based caster. For our sake, not all that useful. Shield of Perdition. Perdition set is all about asset retaliation. I don't think I've ever actually managed to get all the pieces together. But now if you're doing a retaliation build, Perdition set is a pretty nice place to get started. That was a devotion, so that gets us more points. Advances us slowly along the path of the bat. More vitality decay damage. And then in the end we get a attachable ability. But we're not there yet. So this was just a nice side activity. You're here, you might as well go for the quest for the boss fight. So it's purple. Purples are always fun to fight. And then over here there is a bounty. Might even be for the outcasts. That sends you into the East Marsh to... Because I think Urubrook has been spotted somewhere. And this is then the site where you have to be. So this is a useful place to remember. So now on the map it is here. It's kind of on the same line, slightly above the line of where you enter. So sticking to the top side might get you there a little bit earlier than the bottom. But no, it is nice that there are multiple purposes for some areas. Our case though, we keep heading west. There's a Pukesnut, the Unwashed. Unique Grobel. Or heroic Grobel. Can Grobels be heroic? I always see them as Grim Dawn's variation of goblins, and I don't think goblins are kind of renowned for their bravery. It's more the opposite. They're not really all that brave. Reminds me of the flavor text of an older Magic the Gathering card for the Goblin Hero. Flavor text reads: as a goblin, to be a hero, you don't have to take a step forward to be the hero. Everybody else simply takes a step backwards. I think it really nicely summarizes what goblins are. But they're fun enemies, but basically every game has goblins or some form of goblin equivalent, so to say. We are getting close to the entrance of the Temple of the Three. Once we have it, I can use the map to show it more clearly. Wonderful. But first, we have distractions here. So here we have it. So the East Marsh basically is bent down a little bit. You got a very steep slope over here. For the minimap on the left side, it's similar. Now this one basically goes like that. In the bottom here is where you can find the marked stone. Click it, the 3 runes will get consumed and you get access to it. And from here on outwards, it's gonna be content that is related to the path, to the hidden path of the 3 gods. So monster levels gotta go up even more compared to outside. And there's gonna be a lot more poison damage, fatality damage, and all kinds of other nastiness. I already lost one skeleton here. Wonderful. The range of the totem is not all that great, unfortunately. So the ranged casters, yes, technically they are furthest back, so they ought to be safest. On the other hand, they might not be all that smart when moving out. Okay, actually, good thing to keep in mind. I do have pet attack bound on my bar. No, it's just something you get by default. There's a move to a weapon attack and a pet attack that every character gets. And you can use it for a ground attack to actually maneuver your minions out of poisonous ground stuff. Something easy to forget. I keep forgetting it as well. But especially with this content where there's just going to be a lot of area of effect damage, it pays to just get your army out of harm's way. Especially in combination with the totem. On the other hand, still managed to lose quite most of my skeletons here. There, Storm Chaser.
I can't do that yet.
Okay, and then we enter the Temple of the Three. So just like we fought 3 bosses on the way in, there's going to be 3 separately themed zones in here, even though it's one big area. First one is dedicated to Dreek, hence all the poison. Then it's going to be Solael, and finally it's going to be Bismiel. So let's go here. Wonderful. All of this lovely ground poison stuff. Normally as a player I don't really mind, since I tend to build characters that have a boatload of regeneration. Okay. But as you see, the minions don't really have any sense of self-preservation here. So you do have to help them along, at least a little bit. Especially if you're also fond of picking up all the loot in all the places. Skeletons will need some help. Something that I keep reading in places, I never really put too much too much research in it, is that the hidden path chain could be either the bosses, but it could also be the temple here. But at least associated with the hidden path are some of the strongest monster infrequent items, so green items in the game. And I think it was either pants or shoulder pads, because they had really strong mods on them. So say I haven't really done all that much research into them. Whoa. Instead, I nearly get myself killed. That's less than stellar. That's one of the big downsides of all this poison stuff. We do have some poison resistance. Yeah, I think even our minions have some poison resistance. Let's have a quick look. Pet bonuses. Poison acid. Yeah, it's only 15%. And I think that is directly attributable to, what was the devotion called again? Typhos from this one. Putting more of those, picking up more of those bonuses will help you quite a bit, keeping your minions alive. Okay, now we're transitioning to the next area, Solael. More lightning themed, if I remember it. On the other hand, there's still a couple of things to pick up. Now there's some books in places describing you some of the struggles of things that are going on there, since, well, it doesn't really look all that healthy. Okay, there's 2 epics here, or 2 heroics. I keep calling them by wrong names, but I do mean these things. So that was one, and there is another one that died before we could even read his name. Was that heroic? How do we get there? Via a sign room. Some of the places they have some interesting loot, and then often going towards said loot triggers a trap with some spawns of monsters behind you. Yeah, this is a place that does reward you for exploring every little bit. Like here, 2 heroics on top of me. That's in my book. That's a reward, because it's free loot and experience. Also, stop running away, coward. And when enemies do it, they're cowards. When I do it, it's a tactical retreat. Do keep that in mind. It's all about how you phrase it. And perspective. Gotta keep the perspective in mind. See? Those spiders were sneaky buggers. Just completely untrustworthy sneaky buggers trying to sneak up on me from behind. When I do it, it is of course careful tactical placement. No, anvil and hammer strategies, things like that. So it's very important to keep the perspective in mind. Okay, going towards here triggers another spider spawning. Shadow striking, spider. Ooh, wonderful. More enemies. I think I don't want more enemies around me. Wonderful. Again, there's a little room over to the left there. So let's see if we can trigger another ambush. Wonderful. These really chew through our skeletons. It's probably among the first content where I really find myself recasting my skeletons over and over and over again. I actually realize there's a dead end and we've completed this, so onwards to the next stage. But now we're getting closer to completing the tree here. Actually, we're only at 25. It looks like we're nearly there, but there's 25 more points in the mastery bar here. We did pick up this one. It's going to be another 15 points to Blood Pact, which is just a small damage bonus. Really. So maybe for now we'll actually just leave this be for a bit and just invest in boosting some of our skills. Most importantly, I think I'm gonna start putting more points into Call of the Grave to just get a stronger health regen off for our minions. Because it is starting to get a little annoying that the minions are dying in droves here. Oh, actually, we still have Ill Omen, which of course scares groups of enemies away. I haven't really had a use for it so far because, well, we were killing things faster than they could kill us. Now it turns out the opposite is becoming true. So that's the kind of situation where crowd control suddenly has some additional benefits. Okay. Portcullis here indicates a boss fight is about to happen, so no, put up a portal and now we're gonna get the boss fight. I really wonder how we're gonna deal with this guy. This is one tough bugger. The sentinel, level 51 to my 45, does a boatload of damage. On the other hand, I do have an army of minions that do quite some damage as well. Whoa. This guy especially, it's not a bad idea to just run. No. Got heavily degented there and my flask was on the cooldown. Okay, here, have yourself a merry little Christmas. And a totem, push the minions a bit, summon some more skeletons. But I've noticed I've definitely switched to more of a ranged caster approach here, because the damage output of this guy is pretty insane. And it's mostly just damage over time degens that he stacks, poison, burning, things like that. And, well, my resists pretty okay-ish. Actually, 54 poison, that could be better. But all my resists are at least 50% or more. Boosting your resistances from 54 to 80 does mean you're slashing down the damage you take by about 50 to 60%. So those last points are the most important ones. But we did manage to defeat the dude. So now it's time for loot. Oh, and some spawns. Because, of course, side areas. Well, that was the Sentinel. It was a rather short fight, intense fight, but short nonetheless. We were there already, and then here, the way forward. An ornate strongbox. Then another ornate strongbox. And a loot room with hidden spoils. Hidden path, hidden spoils. It is thematically appropriate that the best loot is, of course, hidden. And I think that was it. I never really managed to discover anything besides this secret, though a secret in a secret would have been appropriate. And then we have the attendant, who is in a bit of a precarious position. Is it actually fused with the rocks or just stuck? I think he's meant to be stuck, but yeah, not really all that great. So then we have a bit of a dialogue here, and then we can receive a gift, and that is the gift of a skill point. This will prove useful indeed. So, having achieved this, next up was going to be Call of the Grave. See if we can keep our minions alive a little bit more efficiently. So that was the hidden path. Now, because of my choices, I did side with the outcast, so I can also hand in a quest in the prison below Fort Icon itself. Might as well do that. If you're siding with the Black Legion in this fight, and now you go down here, you have a chat with Anasteria, and you say die witch die, be prepared for a rather tough fight. Because Anasteria, she is definitely not easy to defeat. Okay, next up, Archive of Fates. Where was that one again? Steps of Torment, Broken Hills. Ah, that's in the actual challenge dungeon. So, that's gonna be for another time. A nice thing of the Outcast is you can advance their reputation by killing both Ethereals and Chthonians. So it is pretty easy. Probably out of all the factions, this is probably the easiest one to level because Ethereals and Chthonians are everywhere. But that is a very nice place to call an end to this episode. So Hidden Path is done. We've done all the quests up until Fort Icon. So next episode we're gonna see just how far we can get. Plains of Strife we should be able to walk through without too much issues. Necropolis. I'm depending on how fast we go through, it might be that next episode we're actually gonna go after the Loghorian. If the walk there takes too long, then we'll divide it in 2 episodes. But either way, we are so close to wrapping up the Act 4 story and then continuing the story that comes after. That is all part of the expansion. And I'm very excited for that. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.